sitting way back there. And I know you're going to have a hard time hearing us even with the mics. So if anybody wants to move forward, that would be great. Unless we did something that I don't know about yet.
I'm guessing you're
Is
not
that
going
it?
to have any
Thank you.
takers, Mr.
Oh, now you
Allen.
can hear. Thank you, sir.
So welcome to West Craven High School. Just a little review of our safety procedures in the event of emergency. If we were to need to evacuate due to a fire, we would ask that we'll split the room in half. Those on that side would exit out those far doors. Those on this side beyond would exit out these doors. We'll go out to the parking lot and wait for emergency personnel to allow us to come back into the building. In the event that there was an intruder or someone wanting to do harm, we'll ask that the corporal in the back will secure the back doors. I will secure this back door, and we will sit quietly until law enforcement comes and releases us. In the event that we have inclement weather, everyone line up alongside the far wall over here. We'll get in the safety position covering our head and our neck until the severe warning has passed. Thank you all and welcome to West Craven High School.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we would like to recognize any elected officials, dignitaries, leaders, and present in the audience tonight. Do we have any elected officials present? Craven County Schools Principal of the Year, Miss Ashley Falkenberry with Trent Park Elementary. She's here. Good evening. Glad to have you back with us. Craven County Schools Teacher of the Year, Miss Nardi Roughton, Creekside Elementary, and I saw her. Yeah. Military Liaison, Miss Leafa Palmer. Craven County Schools Military Liaison Counselor, Miss Valerie Nasser. Partners in Education Executive Director, Darlene Brown. If all of our principals and staff, if you would stand tonight, we would like to recognize you. And any retired educators. If you would please stand. All right. Just a point of clarification right quick. Are we streaming? We are streaming tonight, correct?
They have to hit the live, right?
All right, at this time, I would call upon Mr. Brian Gatchell, our board attorney, to offer our invocation for our meeting tonight.
Board members, if you'll please pray with me. Heavenly Father, you are our refuge and our strength, an ever-present help in times of trouble. We seek shelter in you in these days of great challenge in our world, where thousands have been killed in the earthquakes in Morocco, and thousands more have died in the floods in Libya. Make your presence known in the rescue and relief efforts that none will fear, though entire communities fall into the heart of the sea. We seek shelter in you these days of great challenge in our country, where countless families still mourn the loss of their loved ones in the horrific events of 9/11 and the wars that followed. Make your presence known in their sorrow and grief, that none will fear the upheaval of their lives, for you, O Lord of hosts, are with them always. We seek shelter in you in these days of great challenge in our nation, where the waters of discord roar and foam. Make your presence known, for you, O God, are in the midst of all of us. Utter your voice and melt the ground that separates us from the direction you would have us go. In these days of great challenge, let us then be still and know that you are God. In your everlasting name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. At this time, I would ask if Ms. Clark would lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Next up, we invite and call on Dr. Wendy Miller, Superintendent, to provide district updates for the board tonight.
Now, there you go. This is going to be really important because I'm going to talk about Craven County Schools. And first of all, the bad news, the impact of the pandemic. But the great news is how we're recovering in Craven County Schools. So last year, the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction and the SAS Institute collaborated to take a look at the impact of the pandemic on student performance, and to look at how the recovery efforts for lost learning are beginning to occur. The focus of the first analysis was to identify the overall impact to the state specific to subject matter, grades, and student groups, and how the pandemic impacted impacted instruction as well as learning loss for our students. 1 year later, they have looked at how the recovery efforts regarding learning have started to occur. Similar to the original report, the report assesses student performance and the disrupted instructional time by comparing where students were pre-pandemic and where they are post-pandemic. Last year's report used assessment data to determine where students should be and where they actually are. By comparing the results from 2021 and 21-22, we can understand to what extent, on average, that students have recovered academically since the pandemic and how we are recovering learning as compared to the state averages in Craven County Schools. On average, the analysis found that students showed signs of academic recovery in nearly every subject, with the strongest gains in middle school and high school math, and notable gains found in reading, particularly in Craven County Schools. I'm very proud of the work that's being done in Craven County Schools to support student learning, although it's clear that students must remain in school and must be with a highly qualified teacher each and every day to ensure maximum learning. Craven County Schools continues to show dramatic gains in student learning. While we have work to do, I want to take this opportunity to thank our teachers and our staff who are working so hard every day to ensure our students are college, career, and life ready. Next month, we will be sharing specifics regarding our data from this past year, and there will be lots to celebrate. Tonight, I would like to share with the board and the public, this report is uploaded online, the impact of the pandemic and how we're recovering a lost learning specific to Craven County Schools. So I'm going to go through the slides here, and we do not have a projector, so if you're able to log on and look from home, if not, you're able to listen as I go through each subject. So you will notice to the board, there's lots of pretty colored lines. So if you look particularly at the gray line, which is the state, represents the state, the blue dotted line was the expected district trend, and this is the pre-pandemic trend, and the blue dotted line was the 3-year average. So of course, we're trying to get back to where we were, those blue dotted and purple dotted lines. But also, it helps to note where we are aligned with the state, the gray line. And you will see in many areas, we actually are recovering faster than the state average. So on the first one, we're looking specifically at the end of grade. Again, this is based on end of grade test results. End of grade math in grade 4. And as you can see, certainly we took a big jump, and you will see the grade line, we're right in average with the state and how we're recovering. So, of course, we want to be above that pre-pandemic line, but we are making good progress. And again, there's a little space for the 23. My expectation in most, if not all of these, is that line's going to continue to climb. And I would just say to the board, as I go through this, if you have specific questions about that area, end of grade math 4, or whatever area we're talking about, certainly stop me. And at the end, I would like to open it up for the board questions, but also for comments from the board. So that is a look at 4th grade math. The next area to look at would be 5th grade math. This time, as you can see, a big jump. But also you will note that we were moving faster than the state in ring-gating learning. We are above the state just a wee bit in this area. Again, trying to get above those dotted lines to take us back to pre-pandemic performance levels. The next area is end of grade 6, our middle school students. Again, we made progress right in line with the state as far as recovering learning. I'll just pause a second so you have a chance to look. And then the next one is end of grade math in grade 7. Again, right in line with the state. And look how close we are to meeting pre-pandemic performance. I'm hoping when you see this year's result, we will be at or above where we were pre-pandemic. The next area is end of grade math in grade 8. Look at that. Something to celebrate. And I know you guys aren't able to see all the dotted lines, but we are at our pre-pandemic performance rate in 8th grade math. So kudos to our middle school folks. And as you'll remember, and the public knows, recruiting and retaining teachers is hard as it's ever been. So we have shuffled teachers around. We've had long-term substitutes and teachers covering other classes and teaching an additional class. That shows me that pays off because we are making remarkable gains in many areas, but particularly in 8th grade math here. And then again for math, you have math 1, right there again at the state average, not pre-pandemic level, but again, as the 23 data is in and we share with you in October, I think you will be surprised and happy at where we are going in this as well. So here we go. This next one, I am so happy. And Ms. Clark, I want to call you, she's smiling. I want to call your attention to this because we talk a lot about our kids being able to read. All teachers are reading teachers, but it is so critical in elementary school that we have built a strong foundation of readers. And you know, we've had letters training, we've had Lexia, we've had targeted instruction for reading, and I think in the next 3 or 4 years, you're going to see this impact our high school performance as these students move along to middle and high school. But look at 3rd grade reading. We are there. We're already back to pre-pandemic. Look where the state came. They made a little bit of a jump on the state average. We are well above the state in 3rd grade reading as far as our learning gains. 4th grade, much like 3rd grade, 4th grade reading, again, above the state, not quite to pre-pandemic level, but certainly I'm thinking this year you're going to see another jump and we'll be there. So our kids are going to be not just able to read, but be great readers, which is important for college career and life. Being an accomplished reader is critical. The next area, 5th grade reading, again, almost back to pre-pandemic level, but above the state, both in performance and in recovery. We did better than the state in recovering learning in 5th grade reading. 7th grade reading, again, above the state, not quite to the level we were pre-pandemic, but certainly well on our way. And again, 8th grade reading, In middle school, again, above the state average for recovery in reading. And English in the high school, look where we are there. We are at or above where we were pre-pandemic and above the state average. So if you look at the dotted line, that's where they projected where we would be had we not had the pandemic, right? Boy, did our students show them. We did better than they said we should be able to do, even without the pandemic, in in high school English. So for our high school teachers, they are doing a great job. So they did better than the data would have predicted our students do, even without the pandemic. All right, the next one, you have science, 5th grade science. Look at that jump. Almost back to pre-pandemic, and certainly well above where the growth the state made. And much the same for 8th grade science. I will give you a little warning before we look in October. Unusual results this year in science. We have really been strong in science. There's some discrepancies this year that we're concerned about, and that we've asked they take a strong look at, because our science scores don't look like they typically have looked. So a little disappointed in that, certainly not in our teachers or our student performance, but sometimes we just don't understand and it doesn't look right, and I don't think we're alone in that. When other districts are looking, traditionally high-performing districts, and they've seen a little dip, we're kind of curious why that is, so we will have more conversation with our learning coaches as we dig into that data and see specifically why there's a little dip there. But certainly, again, above the state average. And finally, biology. Biology has been an area we've struggled in traditionally. You will see here at the state, only one the state was above us, just a wee bit, but certainly we're on our way back, and hoping this year we're going to see another jump. I would love to see us and be able to stand here in October and tell you that we are above the state recovery in all subject areas. So now we're at or above in all areas except biology. And again, this is based on not last year's test. So remember, this is a year-old data. So it was based on 22, the May of 22 data. So in October, I will be sharing the May of 23 data, and that's going to even look better than this data. So I am very proud of the work our school leaders, as instructional leaders, that's what our principals are. They lead instruction in our buildings. Our teachers who are providing instruction, our assistants, school nutrition, bus drivers, custodians, everyone in this district is an educator and plays their part in making sure our students are successful in college, life, career, military, and whatever they choose to do after high school. So that was a quick summary. I would like to end this by reiterating one more time that our students must be in school. The best place for them, and this is for safety, for their social emotional growth, and also for academics, the best place for students is in a school where every day they're being instructed by a highly qualified teacher. So that is so important to reiterate. Certainly I hope we never have to make that choice again, but it is important to know that our students being in school, if anyone has a question about the impact of education on a community or on kids, this report shows the impact that being in a school has on children. So I will open this up for questions or comments.
Well, I want to thank you for going through this. I think it was good for us to see, but I think it's really useful for all of our community partners to see and to understand. And as you know, I've had conversations with commissioners about this data. They had seen statewide data at a North Carolina Association of County Commissioners meeting, but they had not seen district-specific data, and we have shared that with them, and I think it's really helpful for us going forward for them to see, you know, we're being completely transparent about what happened, where we are, where we want to go, and I think, you know, there's some really exciting things happening that we can see rebounding in this data. So I think it's a great thing for us to focus on, but I, of course, I share your view that we obviously want to keep our kids in school. The only thing I'd like for you and staff to think about as we look forward to the next bit of data we're going to receive, and I know I'm going to harp on, I want everybody to be reading at third grade, and everybody's going to hear me, they're going to get sick of me saying that. But I guess what I would love for you all to think about once we digest that data, and not necessarily in the next month, but are sort of it would be even better if. What are the other things that we need to do even better, particularly at that critical stage for our students? And I know we talked about Read to Achieve on Tuesday. There are things that we're doing there, but I guess my thought is always, what else do we need to be doing? And those are the kinds of things that I would love for you all to think about.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that feedback. One of the things that we learn through continuous improvement is when you look at the data, the question you ask is, so what? What does this tell us? What do we need to do differently? Because the data point is just a data point. It's what you do with the data that makes a difference for kids. So thank you for that.
Right, Ms. Muse?
When I looked at this, it tells me a couple things, right? Like, it tells me that once something happens, it's kind of easier for it to happen again, right? So should we ever find ourselves in another situation where we have to make the decision to either pull kids out or leave kids in, we have the data that shows that keeping them home, it wasn't what was best for them. And we're in the business of doing or trying to do what is best for them. So that would be a huge part of a future, if ever, hope not ever again, thought process, right? Because we're in the business of trying really hard to do what's best for them.
Thank you.
So I appreciate the work that you guys put into this presentation, and I know that I interrupted you a couple times today while you were working on it. So I appreciate you letting me interrupt you, and I appreciate the data.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, nothing about reading down there?
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited. It's always heartening to hear reading scores improve, but this is great. But to supplement what you articulated, so what? Mrs. Lee already said in October, we're going to get data. She said I would likewise be heartened about improvement at the secondary level, because as important as it is that our kids in 3rd and 5th and 7th grade have a joy and love in reading, like it or not, we still have kids, young folk graduating who aren't able to, whether we call it decipher, whether we call it unable to comprehend, and that's what we also need to work on. So that's what I would like us to look forward to for the next steps as well. But this is great news, because during the pandemic, and I used to see kids in the street, and I said, why aren't you in school? And they said, we're on a field trip, Miss Clark. Well, they must have been doing something for these scores to be what they are. So thank you to all the teachers and staff and the administration and the parents and the board. Likewise. So thank you, Dr. Miller.
And I appreciate you acknowledging our teachers. I was explaining this to someone. The job of a teacher is difficult enough, but when you had that learning loss, and now you're trying to teach, and our Teacher of the Year can probably speak to this much better, you still have to teach your 4th grade standards or whatever your standards are, but you're trying to fill in those gaps that occurred too. So that is a challenge, but this report shows that our teachers are doing an excellent job at teaching their standards and their curriculum, but also helping all kids get better in all subjects. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Oh, one more thing. I almost forgot. So yesterday, Ms. Tolston, is she here? Please stand up. She was honored and given an award for her work with CTE in helping build a stronger community through the CTE program. So I'd like to acknowledge her tonight. She was given a nice plaque yesterday. So I think that's it, unless staff can jog my memory on anything else I was supposed to share with you. So lots of data next month and lots of conversation that we will have. Mr. Ipock, I think, has his hand up.
First, I'm a big believer in data. I do realize that, every data point is the efforts of a whole lot of people, including our students. We certainly thank them for buckling down. If nothing else, the data affirms the work that has been done and is being done. And I think we're going to see in October a continued jump in the scores, and it can only be attributed to all the incredible work that everyone's doing. So, thank you.
That's
Thank you,
all
sir.
I have, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you. Yes, thanks to all the hard work, and there is a lot hard work going into this. All right, moving right along. At this time, I call upon Vice Chair, Mr. Scott Murphy, to provide a summary of the information and presentation shared at our September 19th, 2023 work session.
All right, real quick, we on Tuesday received, graciously received a $20,000 gift from a donor to go to our Exceptional Children's Department. We had an update on our COVID protocols that we were very excited about. We had appointed 4 members of this board to represent us at the North Carolina School Board Association, which would be Jennifer Dacey, I, Brent Manning, and Cara Ipock. We had a first read and second read of many policies, went over an HR report and voted all in. Had a wonderful presentation on our career and technical education. Did 2 presentations on our elementary and secondary education. Had an update on our grade practices. Had some amendments to our finances. Voted in a contract on our janitorial information, or our janitors that we contract. And we also had a update on our long-term foresight on building repairs to all of Craven County schools, which I think came up to around $81 million estimated of repairs that we need to begin looking at. Outside of that, that pretty much covered it. It was probably our shortest work session this year. And if you want to watch the whole thing, it will not take you all day, and you can go to cravenk12.org.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. As we begin our public input tonight, we want to thank you all for coming out to speak to the Board of Education. Speakers will address the board from the speaker's podium at the front of the room and will begin their remarks by stating your name and address. Speakers are expected to be civil in their language and presentation. Public comment is not intended to require the board to answer any impromptu questions. However, the board, in accordance with this policy, will include a discussion of public input, at which time the board may discuss issues raised in the public comment portion of our meeting. The Board of Education is here to listen to those who have signed up, and speakers will be called upon one at a time and will have up to 5 minutes for speaking. If you are still speaking when the alarm sounds, please take your seat. The decorum for our public meeting is to be polite, civil, and respectful, and I ask that your comments to the board be focused, polite, to not include any personal attacks or name-calling, and to be directed to the board. Thank you for your cooperation, and with that, I ask Vice Chairman, Mr. Scott Murphy, if he will begin calling our citizens who have signed up to speak for 5 minutes.
Lori Spees.
My name is Lori Spees, and I live at 1501 Kimberly Road in New Bern. Thank you to the board for allowing public input during the public meeting. I'm not here to talk about anything new, especially over the last 2 days, since you all have been talking about literacy. And Dr. Miller, I really appreciate that you gave a preview of the 22-23 performance results for the schools. Ms. Clark, I want to really thank you for all the comments you made on Tuesday about how imperative literacy is for our students. I was watching online, so you couldn't hear me, but I was cheering just as loud as I could. You said something, I might be paraphrasing, but you said reading and math are fundamental. Our kids have to be able to read, and they have to be able to do math. And I thank you for that. And I hope you will continue to carry that message to this board, because most of the time, I feel like Ms. Clark and Ms. Stacy are kind of the only ones speaking that narrative or putting emphasis on that narrative, and it's so important. And I think Dr. Miller is saying, you know, we came through COVID and we learned that we didn't maybe do the best things by keeping the kids out. And I do think it's positive, that the outlook is positive, but the reality is, because I'm a realist, the reality is that before the pandemic, we weren't really killing it either. We still had at least 40 to 45% of our kids who couldn't read and who weren't proficient in reading. And growth is a really nice word and it sounds good, but when our kids get out of school and they go for job interviews, I've never had anyone ask me, what was growth like in 4th grade for you? And when growth is only 1% or 2% or points, it's still not moving the needle, actually. And so I just want to implore this board to please do not lose sight of the fact that our kids still cannot read proficiently at a competitive or even functional level. And I would also just ask that we heard some good things, some different measures and programs from Ms. Lee and Mr. Griffin the other day at the work session, but I would implore this board to bring those programs, which sound great, to bring the accountability from those programs as well. So in a year from now, that we're not just talking about what we implemented, but we're taking a look at what the results are from what we did implement. So I was thinking, I kept hearing at the work session that the results weren't going to be out and all that stuff, but the results are out. They've been published on the DPI website since September 6th. And so I just have the 2017 through 2022-23 year, just in case you have not referenced it or known that it was there to reference yet. On the front side, it's the overall performance scores of all of our schools, and on the back side, it's the reading and math. And you know me, the data does not lie. And while we're doing things, and I hope it's going to get better, we weren't killing it pre-pandemic, and we've got to stay focused on that. So thank you for letting me come talk with you tonight. I have one of these for all of you.
Mary Campbell.
Good evening. My name is Mary Campbell. I'm from 560 Clark Road, Vanceboro, North Carolina. And I don't have any criticism about anything, but I do have an idea or suggestion that might help students. You know how you're in elementary school and you get that little time to go outside to exercise or go to the playground? They give them a chance to release a little bit of energy and a little bit of, it gives them that time to socialize with their friends and everything. Sure, they need to learn, but they need some unstructured stuff. Even if it's just an exercise class, a PE class, They get no time to socialize because everything is so structured. When they get out, they either into sports or they into homework or they back to their computers or phone. They don't have any interaction with other students. So they need some kind of, something to release whatever may be building up. And so that was just a suggestion that I had. You know, I thought about it. I said, you know, we had fun. That was the only time we got. When you go see students now, what do you see? You see them sitting right beside each other, texting each other, and they sitting right beside each other. Isn't that crazy? And so, you know, if you just give them a little, come up with something that's a little bit unstructured, whether it's a PE class, an exercise class, all at recess, whatever. But something to give them a little outlet. And so, as far as the, what I've seen that you all done lately, it's all been good, and it's all been a long time coming, but at least we got it. Okay, now I want to ask the question, what are we doing? I hear the other schools is finally getting their metal detectors in school. Are we getting any in Craven County? You know, I don't know that question, you know, because I haven't heard anybody comment, but I know I've heard on the news all the other schools that's getting it. And boy, those teachers and those students, if they aren't excited. And so we want to get us some over here too if we haven't done it. So I'll give my 3 minutes to somebody else that need to talk.
Ellen Griffin.
Good evening. I'm Elena Hebert, and I have a daughter who's at Brinson Elementary. And I just wanted to come here tonight to show some appreciation and some gratitude because last year I came to the board a few times talking about the needs of the Brinson building and just the infrastructure. And coming back to school after summer break, it was very obvious that there had been a lot of big steps actually into improving the building. And so anyway, I wanted to thank you. Some of those examples were they actually got the driveway to the school paved, which was loaded with potholes. So I'm sure you have lots of very happy parents because that was fantastic. Their walls were painted throughout the building. I heard there was new windows in the office and the media center, and I know that that is not an inexpensive item. And that a lot of the old broken blinds were removed. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you. And I didn't actually get to see the video about Tuesday, but I just noticed your note about, or I heard your note about you guys are looking at all the improvements that need to be done to the buildings. And I'm just so grateful because part of the learning environment is the physical. So having those new desks, we even got some new furniture, and it really makes a difference. I mean, it looks so great. So thank you so much. Another thing that I wanted to just point out was I also, after coming back from the school year, I talked to our school principal, and I had just a few questions because we're hearing about redistricting, consolidating schools. So I just wanted to sit down and talk to him about what did happen over the summer because I did see some improvements and what was happening in the building. Anyway, him and the vice principal both took 30 minutes out of their day to sit down, talk to me, give me updates about some of the improvements that I couldn't even see. They also took some time just to reassure me, they were both like, we've been through in different districts some of this. So he's like, don't worry, we've got that. The only, and really they had such like a positive outlook on everything. They were very reassuring, and they were both if they had a major note to say, was once, and I know you guys have work to do, but once the decisions are made, the sooner that they know, the better, so that they can start recruiting new teachers. I know Brinson does have room for new bodies, so I'm expecting more bodies into that school. So just the more time that they have to be interviewing and hiring our highly qualified teachers, which is so important to them. So that was really their only main note, which was really great to hear. And the other thing that I wanted to point out is I took on a position this year of a HUGS coordinator, and I wasn't in town for the HUGS coordinator meeting. So Jennifer Wagner took time out of her day to meet with me to answer any questions, or all the questions I had to make sure that I could do the job and do justice for our school. So I'm just really pleased with the amount of attention that I've been able to get, and everybody's just been incredible. So I just wanted to let you know that the staff is really doing a great job. If I've asked for help, they have not missed a beat, but to be there to provide that help that I've needed. So I'm just really grateful for all of that. And I just wanted to give you guys a few of those positive notes coming into the new year. So thank you, or new school year. So thank you guys so much.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, we will take a 10-minute break.
Little excited about that, aren't you, Brent?
I call this meeting back to order. Moving forward in our agenda tonight, we have our minutes, regular meeting minutes. I would ask for a motion that we approve the board meeting minutes for the following dates: August 15th, 2023 work session minutes, and August 17th, 2023 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion, please let it be known by the raising of your right hand. And the motion passes. Thank you. At this time, I would ask for a motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes for the following dates: August 7th, 2023, a panel hearing; August 15th, 2023, closed session; and August 16th, 2023, panel hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion, please let it be known by the raising of your right hand. And motion passes. Thank you. I would ask the board tonight if there are any items to be removed from our consent agenda. All right, hearing none, or if I can have a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
Moved in second. No, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, please let it be known by the raising of your right hand. And motion passes. Next item up is Chairman's Report, and the board may discuss items heard during the public input.
Well, I guess I'll start. I just want to thank everybody for coming, as always. We really appreciate public input, and it's really awesome when we get positive public input. For a change. So we really appreciate all kinds of input, but that's nice, particularly for our staff, who I think do an exceptional job of trying to be responsive to the needs of the public and parents. So we appreciate that. We're grateful for that. And then I guess, you know, I can't speak for everybody, but I really do hear you when it comes to the focus on the fundamentals, and I think everybody really does feel that way, and we're all working to try and figure out exactly what concrete steps we need to do to try and reinforce those. But we also appreciate that we need to have outlets for students, particularly in elementary school, that are unstructured, and so that input is also appreciated. That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, Ms. Muse?
Well, I agree with everything that Ms. Stacy said. The fundamentals are very important, and I acknowledge that. I would like to see all of our students reading beyond grade level and excelling at math. Those are the two basic skills that get you through life. Ms. Campbell, we do have metal detectors at our high schools and our middle schools. They've been recently purchased, and they're used at like big events, but we're not putting kids through those every day to get into school. So, but I want you to know that we do have those in Craven County schools. So, and Ms. Herbert, thank you for coming tonight. Brenton has had a lot of work done, and we do recognize, and poor Mr. Lee back there, in just a couple weeks, he's going to get to do a great big presentation about our facilities, and that meeting is supposed to be the first week of October.
October 2nd.
October 2nd. So you can either come to that board meeting, which will be at central office, or you can watch it on YouTube. So that will give you a little bit more in-depth look as to facility needs and redistricting and all those fun things. So, but thank you for coming tonight.
Mr. Ipock?
Thank you, Chairman. Dr. Miller, could you explain why we're reviewing the data for 22, but while we're waiting until October to review the data for 23? I think there's some confusion about that sometimes, although we've all looked at it online.
Yes, what we wanted to do is dig down deep into the data and do some comparison analysis where we've been, how far we've come. The purpose of tonight's presentation was a board member, actually several, asked me to take a look at the pandemic and the impact of the pandemic and how we're recovering from that. And certainly we will add the 23 data. Initial data is out there. We do not have teacher data yet, and we want to give a comprehensive report to the board. Certainly not teacher name, but we have several programs such as Master Teacher that we want that data to be able to determine exactly what the public input was tonight, what's working, and connecting what's working with our results. Because if something's working, we certainly want to continue and expand it, but if it's not, we just don't want to continue to add on to teachers' plates. We want to make sure what we're doing is actually working. So having that in-depth data when we present in October will be helpful for us, for the board, and for the public to see.
Any others? All right, again, I would just say again, thank you to all that came. I think all of each item was shared and discussed and addressed, and certainly appreciate our people coming out tonight and sharing with our board. Next up would be any bin items from the Board of Education tonight. All right, no bin items, we're good. Celebrations. All right, and we'll start down on this end, and Ms. Clark will kick us off.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had the opportunity to attend first and second day of the school's opening, and not only were the kids excited, but I was heartened by the fact that staff, teachers, custodians, principals were likewise excited. And if the kids and parents know that we care, that becomes infectious, and that just becomes a wonderful culture and learning environment. And then secondly, Mr. Chair, on Tuesday, in my attempt to engage in self-deprecating humor, I said I didn't know anything about math, and obviously failed, because I got several calls, Mr. IPOC, asking me why I was promulgating the stereotype that females don't know math. That was not my intention, sister and brother. We know that females can do everything, and I just wanted to clear that up for people listening in Zoom land. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark.
Well, I'll add to Mrs. Clark's celebration. We know who runs everything, and sometimes we're allowed to look like we do something. But we know Mrs. Clark.
Touche.
And I also know about you in math, so I'm not
Thank you.
going to duel with you over math.
Please.
I'll tell you that. I just celebrate tonight the presentation on the results. Again, as we said, the work that's being done. We thank you for your leadership, Superintendent, and we certainly appreciate your team and teachers, all, top to bottom, everybody, because that's what it takes to make it happen. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Muse.
I have a list, and some of my stuff's not probably going to be real popular. But okay, here we go, because that's what I do, is the not popular things. JT Barber is fully staffed, hasn't been in a long time. Nobody's talking about that. West Craven Middle School has exceeded growth, which isn't official yet. That hadn't happened in a long time either. Dr. Thomas is running a tight ship at Newbern High School. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from that, and his SROs over there are thrilled of kids not being in the hallway and expectations being set really high. So that is a big change. I'm proud of the superintendent. for standing up and taking beatings publicly, for doing the right thing even when it's really hard. I'm proud of this board for standing up and taking the beatings publicly even when it's really hard, because we've done the right thing. And it's impacted friendships, and it's caused us to lose sleep at night. And standing up straight and locking our legs in place and doing the right thing, we're not done yet. And we have more beatings that will be coming our way over the next couple weeks, I'm sure. But like all storms, they too shall pass. So Miss Stacy's down there grinning. And it's not easy. And anybody that thinks that it's up here, that sitting up here is easy or fun, or working and caring as a teacher, custodian, child nutrition person, bus driver, aide, any staff member that works in a school is an educator. And if anybody thinks that it's easy, it's not easy. It's some of the hardest work that you will do. And you don't get fed very much. And by being fed, I mean nobody calls you when you're doing the hard stuff and says, thank you, you're doing a great job. But I was on the phone tonight with a friend of mine who is a Craven County school parent. Well, was. His babies are, they old people. They're in their like 20s and 30s. He's got old people. And he told me, I defend you every day. And I defend the decisions that the board makes every day. There was some colorful language in our conversation, I'll be honest. But he told me that he appreciates us doing the right thing every day. And for that, I want him to know that I love him and I value him, and I needed that call.
All right, thank you. Mr. Murphy? Okay.
Don't quit fighting about it, just do it.
I was just gonna piggyback on that as well, the hard work. So appreciative of all the hard work that went into last year. And I know our educators are already working so hard and diligently this year. And when we go and visit the schools and see the staff and the administration and our teachers and all the hard work that is taking place. So shout out to that, and a shout out for being here at West Craven High School, and Mr. Lee for being so hospitable, and so we celebrate that tonight as well.
I also want to give just a shout out to all of our facility workers that have done so much to our facilities. I've seen so much on this end with this school. All I hear about is our red lockers now, and how different it just makes you feel coming into the school, and how much of an impact I've done at West Craven Middle School, getting that up to a better standard. I just really appreciate all of their work, because I think it's a really big celebration on both of these schools. I know there's still a lot of work to be done, but I like that we're making headway with what we can make headway with. I am very excited about West Craven Middle School exceeding growth, and I'm also very excited about this school coming out of low performing, or whatever that was, that it's actually, that we are moving forward. And I think that's a big testament to the leadership. We got a big elephant to eat, and you can only eat it one bite at a time. You can't turn a ship on a dime. And I believe that we are making an impact and making a difference. And I think that we do need to celebrate it. Growth is growth. And we're exceeding it, and I expect to be at a place of performance. And I believe we're on the way there. And I appreciate every staff member of the school system that is working to get us there.
Well, I don't think there's a whole lot left to say and celebrate here, but I'll come up with a couple things. So I think since we last had a public board meeting, we've not thanked the community for all the fantastic support we received at the Stuff the Bus event for PI, which was hugely successful. So I want to thank all the folks at PI for their efforts and Darlene Brown's efforts on our behalf, because I think that was a great turnout and a very successful event. And then she's since done some other things in terms of assistance to our educators. So we're always grateful for that. We want to celebrate that. And I think we were speaking earlier on Tuesday about grading policies and things of that nature, and we had a discussion about low expectations. And I think one area in which we are definitely not suffering from a tragedy of low expectations is behavior of our students. And I want to really applaud our principals, particularly at our high schools and middle schools, for really trying to set a certain tone with the start of this school year in terms of their behavioral expectations, and really asking our students and families to step up and meet that expectation. I think that is a recipe for long-term success, not only of our students themselves individually, but our school system. So I want to commend them for their efforts on that, and we continue to hear really good, positive feedback. Not always from students, but definitely from others, about changes that are being made to make the discipline more consistent across the district, which is something we're interested in achieving as well. So, and of course, thanks to all of our staff for making that possible.
All right, thank you. All great feedback tonight and celebrations. Next, we'll be going into a 10-minute break. After break, I'll be asking the board to go for a motion to go into closed session. So for our audience and here tonight, the rest of our agenda will conclude after our closed session. So with that, we will take a 10-minute break. I call our meeting back to order. At this time, I would entertain a motion to enter into closed session to consider the qualifications, the competence, performance, or condition of an appointment of a public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee, North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A6, and to consult with an attorney in order to protect the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which is privilege, is hereby acknowledged, North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3.
So move.
Second.
Moved in second, any discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion, please let it be known by the raising of your right hand. And motion passes. We are in closed session.
My dog's been found. David McFadden just called me in closed session. I had to run out and cry, look like a fool.
You did, but your dog was found.
Look, this dog is Greg's dog. She ain't even my dog,
Everybody's in
she's
here?
Greg's dog.
All right. The board met in closed session and no action was taken. At this time, I ask Dr. Miller to facilitate the Plus Delta evaluation of the Board of Education meeting for tonight.
All right, board members, in thinking about your goals and accomplishing your work, what pluses do we have? What worked for tonight?
That was helpful, always helpful. And not a lot of public input, but productive public input.
Encouraging public.
We had few more members of the community, but it's Thursday night before a storm, so there's that.
And there was a away football game.
Yes.
Any other pluses?
We had a little glitch, messages that the live YouTube feed wasn't working, but then I pulled it up on my phone, sent them a screenshot where I could see it on my phone, so then I got, it wasn't working on their computer, but it was working on their phone, so maybe there's something wrong with their computer. But it seemed to me like our videography stuff was working good tonight.
Which is sometimes a challenge when we meet at other areas. So we appreciate you guys, I think is what she's saying.
You know, I think it worked fine. I'm grateful for the COVID data. I mean, for the strides that we're making, right? There's a lot of good things that we talked about tonight. And I think it's really interesting when we go down the line. Our board members are very different from each other. I mean, really, like a night and day different. But every single one of us brings something to the table of value. And it's just interesting to me when I get to hear our different perspectives. And we might not always agree about stuff, but the different ingredients we bring to the table seem to work, and I appreciate that.
Thanks for that. Other pluses? All right.
The fact that even though we kept some folk away, that we still have them separate.
Still,
I like the fact that we had this particular meeting at West Craven High as opposed to the new.
All right, any other pluses? All right, in an effort to continuously improve, what could be better? It would even be better if,
I think we should rope off the, except for here.
to make them sit up front. Put tape reserved on the back instead of the front, that's a good idea.
Bring them forward.
It's sort of like a video Kelly sent me of Deion Sanders telling his players that he expected them all to sit in the front row.
The other classes.
He also expects them to dress a certain way.
He does.
I think that everybody needs to watch that. I'll send it to y'all tonight. It's a TikTok.
Oh,
I'll send it to y'all tonight. Pearls of wisdom. You want to be added to that TikTok? I'll send it to you too. I'll send it to you too. I'll send it to you.
Any other deltas? It would even be better if.
and I spoke to this, we need to make sure we always bring the flag forward, so it's very obvious in the meetings.
Right, the audience could see it, but the board could not. All right, any other deltas? All right, that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
all right, thank you, ma'am. And this time I would entertain a motion from the Board of Education to adjourn September 21st, 2023 meeting.
So move.
Second.
All right, moved in second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I want everybody to be really careful because before I left, quit being like that. Stop it. Before I left to come over here tonight, the river at my house was already getting up and it was getting kind of choppy. So everybody just needs to be mindful tomorrow.
And I appreciate that, and I appreciate the board's support in erring on the side of safety. I mean, I received emails from the emergency management making that recommendation, particularly in the Harlow area, that they're expecting waters to rise. I'd rather err on the side of, maybe we didn't need to, rather than my fear is some folks didn't make that decision, and early release would have put us right out in the middle of the waters rising. So I'd rather err on the side of safety and make that decision early. And I've received numerous emails, texts from teachers saying how much they appreciated the decision and the board understanding that safety comes first for teachers and their families who would be driving in it as well.
All right. All in favor of the motion, please let it be known by the raising of your right hand. All right, we are